Winston Churchill called football the gentleman's game, but that's not always been the case. Here are 10 times footballers were caught cheating. Hand of God. Diego Maradona scored not only the best goal in World Cup history, but the most controversial one too, and both of them came in the same game. At Mexico 1986, the Argentine was gifted the opportunity to make his country proud, but at only 5'5" tall, he was never going to outjump Peter Shilton and get his head on the ball, so he used his fist instead. England were furious, but neither the referee nor the linesman saw it. Diego said the goal was scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. But it gets worse. That wasn't the only contentious handball we've seen. At the 2010 World Cup, Luis Suarez punched a Ghana header clear before it crossed the line. A few months earlier, Thierry Henry thought he was playing handball before scoring in a crucial playoff against Ireland. Rivaldo's acting outrage. At the 2002 World Cup, Rivaldo was a standout performer. 2 goals, 2 assists, and a piece of acting he could have won an Oscar for. In a group stage against Turkey, Rivaldo was waiting to get the ball back so he could take a corner. But when Hankal Unsal kicked it to him a little harder than usual, he sensed a chance to make history. It hit him, and he went down holding his face and started rolling around on the floor. The linesman was standing right next to him, so he'd never fall for this, right? Well, Rivaldo's acting was so good, the official fell for it. FIFA launched an investigation after the match, and Rivaldo was fined $7,350, but he escaped a suspension and played in Brazil's next game against China. Manager forgets he's not a player. Most managers used to be footballers themselves, and many miss it, but few decide YOLO and jump back into the game, like Enrique Martin did. He missed being a player so much that he wasn't prepared to just stand on the touchline and watch the game. The year was 1999, and his Leganes team were 1-0 up against Badajoz. Leganes had sent too many bodies forward, and Badajoz were launching a quick counter-attack. One of their players was racing down the wing, and Leganes were outnumbered in the middle. Martin couldn't just bear to stand and watch. He summoned his inner Paolo Maldini and tackled the Badajoz winger, who was sprinting into space. In fairness, it was a pretty good tackle. Martin got all of the ball and none of the man. Unfortunately for him, he was still hit with a 10-game ban. The Butcher of Bilbao. Tackling has always been a part of football, but it's fair to say today's players are much better protected than they used to be. Diego Maradona can vouch for that. He was kicked all over the shop during his playing days. Some terrible challenges on him weren't even penalised with a free kick. These days, the offenders would get a prison sentence. But nothing was worse than a tackle from Andoni Goicoechea. The guy's hardman persona literally got him nicknamed the Butcher of Bilbao. In 1983, he committed a disgraceful foul against Maradona. Oh, I can't even look. The Barcelona forward compared the sound of his breaking ankle to wood breaking. Still, at least the authorities acted swiftly. Goicoechea was slapped with a 10-match ban. Norbert Meyer's bad acting. Play acting is a part of football these days, but you don't see Pep Guardiola rolling around on the floor too often. Managers don't usually get involved in that sort of thing. Well, unless of course you're Alan Pardew. Come on, Alan, you're supposed to be setting an example. But even Pardew didn't go as far as Norbert Meyer. The Duisburg manager once squared up to Cologne midfielder Albert Streit and gave him a little headbutt. As soon as he did so, Meyer fell to the ground clutching his head as if he was the victim. Oh, have you never heard of TV cameras, Norbert? Well, they weren't really needed anyway. The ref saw the whole thing and sent him off, and Duisburg sacked him 3 days later. The disgrace of Gijon. Cheating without breaking the rules may be difficult, but it's not impossible. At the 1982 World Cup, West Germany were facing disaster. They were one of the favourites to win the tournament, but after losing to Algeria, they were on the brink of an early exit. West Germany needed to beat Austria in their final group game. They just needed to win 1-0. Then both teams would go through and Algeria would be eliminated. You'll never guess what the score was. Oh, that's right. West Germany won 1-0. Horst Hrubesch scored in the 10th minute, and the two teams spent the remaining 80 minutes passing the ball around without trying to score another goal. The Spanish crowd booed and jeered, but the players were unmoved. After the disgrace of Gijon, FIFA changed the rules so that the final round of group games always kicked off at the same time. Brazilian Massa intervenes. In playoff matches, the stakes are high, sometimes even dangerous, whether it's the Bundesliga, the Championship, or Brazil's Serie D. In 2013, Tupi faced Aparecidense in the playoffs. The score was level at 2-2 when Ademilson had a golden chance to score the winning goal. He collected a loose ball in the box and fired it past the keeper. It was heading right into the bottom corner until it was cleared off the line by a man on the post. It wasn't a defender though. The Aparecidense masseur had run onto the pitch and kicked the ball clear. Twice. The masseur ran for his life, with riot police forced to step in and protect him from the angry Tupi players. Hit and miss. Imagine you're a penalty taker, the score's 0-0 and you're about to step up to the spot. Everyone expects you to score. If you do, you'll be the hero. But if you miss, you'll be the villain. Now that's pressure. As you're preparing to take the kick, you're trying your hardest to stay calm. You don't want anything to interfere with your preparations. The very last thing you want is for the opposition goalkeeper to deliberately sabotage the penalty spot before you take the kick. That's what Augsburg goalkeeper Marvin Hitz did in 2015. He deliberately planted his studs into the turf and swiveled a few times. The penalty spot was an absolute mess. When Anthony Modeste stepped up to take it, he slipped on the damaged turf and didn't connect with the ball cleanly. Hitz dived to his right and pushed the ball away. The goalkeeper's dirty trick had worked, and Augsburg went on to win 1-0. It wasn't the most fair thing to do, the goalkeeper said afterwards. It won't happen again. Marseille, the match fixers. Sometimes football clubs get greedy. Marseille were going for their 5th Ligue 1 title in a row in 1992-3. It all came down to their game against Valenciennes on the last day of the season, but Marseille were due to play the Champions League final a few days later. They had a dilemma. How could they win their last league game while also being well rested for the final against AC Milan? Bernard Tapie, the club's president, had the answer. He contacted Valenciennes players and offered them a bribe to go easy on Marseille. Jorge Burruchaga and Christophe Robert agreed to deliberately underperform. Their teammate Jacques Glassman was less keen. He exposed the scandal and was given the FIFA Fair Play Award in 1995. Marseille beat Valenciennes 1-0, but their title was revoked once the incident came to light. Tapie was sentenced to over 2 years in prison. Roberto Rojas Razorblade. Footballers are desperate to win, but where do you draw the line for taking things too far? In 1989, Chile faced Brazil in a crucial World Cup qualifier. They were 1-0 down and under the cosh. Things weren't going well for their keeper, Roberto Rojas, and that's when he got desperate. A firework was thrown onto the pitch, and the goalkeeper went down clutching his head. It looked like he'd been hit. With blood streaming out of his face, the match was abandoned. It looked like Chile would be handed the win, but then video footage emerged. Rojas hadn't been hit by the firework at all. It turned out he'd actually cut his own face with a razor blade hidden in his glove. Brazil were handed a 2-0 victory, and Rojas was hit with a lifetime ban for choosing the wrong time to shave. What other cheating incidents would you add to the list? Drop a comment below, then hit subscribe for more content like this.